Hello, hello, fiends, and welcome to another horrific edition of Casey's Creepy Creations. Tonight we have a truly nauseating little nugget that I wrote and narrated, which I like to call The Red Horror: Survival on Mars. As always, we caution that the above video is not suitable for children, and if you suffer from a weak heart, please watch at your own risk. The Red Horror: Survival on Mars. The vast expanse of deep space lies quiet until it doesn't. From the void, a spacecraft bursts into view, hurtling uncontrollably toward Mars. Alarms blare. Inside the cockpit, panic erupts as Captain Kane barks rapid orders. His normally calm demeanor is now overshadowed by desperation as gravity wells pull the ship down faster than the crew can respond. Controls fail. Flames engulf the hull. A cacophony of metal against atmosphere shrieks as the craft spirals toward a violent crash. The impact is catastrophic. The once mighty spacecraft splinters across the desolate Martian terrain, scattering debris and survivors across the blood-red desert. A deathly silence follows. Then, one ear-piercing gasp. Captain Kane pulls himself from the wreckage, battered but alive, his eyes narrowing beneath a splintered visor as he surveys the lifeless terrain. The camera comes to rest on the survivors, a disheveled, broken group of engineers, scientists, and pilots. Everything they've known is gone. Supplies are pathetically limited, and the communication systems are down. Mars stretches out endlessly in all directions, offering no respite, no shelter, and no hope for salvation. Captain Kane knows time is working against them. "Rally up," he orders. There's a determined steel in his voice, one that cuts through the fear radiating from the group. Though exhausted, they obey, banding together to assess damages. At first, their focus is survival, rationing food, creating an emergency shelter from wreckage, and attempting a repair on the broken signal transmitter. But Mars, silent and inert, feels different tonight, unnatural even. Something stirs beneath the crimson sands. Night falls. The darkness on Mars isn't like night on Earth, it's consuming, a blanket of inky blackness that hides every shadow. Uneasy chatter mixes with the groans of the Martian wind as the survivors huddle against the unknown. Then the noises change, faint at first like shuffling feet. One astronaut swears he hears a voice. "Impossible," replies another, brushing it off as fatigue-induced hallucinations. It's not. The first attack happens without warning. The crew awakes to screams from the perimeter. A search party stumbles upon the body of one of their own, Isaac, a quiet engineer who'd gone missing hours earlier. The revelation is gruesome. Lifeless eyes stare into the void, but Isaac rises. Grotesque movements betray any humanity left inside. That's when they see it. Thin tendrils curling unnaturally from his limbs, pulsating with alien energy. Isaac lunges. What follows is a frenzy of panic and violence. The survivors barely fend off the horrifying attack. The thing that was once a friend is now a cold, reanimated killing machine. Its lifeless body finally collapses, but not without inflicting physical and emotional scars. In the aftermath, the survivors examine Isaac's corpse with fear and morbid curiosity. The culprit is immediately clear: a parasite, alien in its form, entwined within the dead flesh. Captain Kane hypothesizes that their crash must have unearthed an ancient parasite colony buried beneath Mars's surface for millennia. This disturbance has brought it back to life. The truth is devastating. The survivors realize they're battling not just the alien environment, but now an enemy that can rise from their very own dead. Fear grips the group, but Captain Kane refuses to allow panic to take over. He pulls them together with the strength born of desperation. "We fight to live," he declares, his voice resolute. The survivors begin setting up makeshift defenses, creating barriers around their temporary shelter and devising rudimentary weapons from the wreckage. But Mars is vast and merciless, and so are the parasites. They come in waves, dragging more infected corpses with them, friends, co-workers, familiar faces twisted into lifeless husks. The creatures' ambushes take a heavy toll, diminishing their already dwindling numbers. Paranoia spreads like wildfire. The survivors realize anyone who dies, even by accident, could return as a puppet of the alien parasite. Arguments flare as the group debates whether to bury or burn the dead, splintering bonds of loyalty and trust. When a survivor succumbs to injuries, Kane makes a painful call. There can be no burials. The dead must be destroyed. It's a cold, gut-wrenching moment, but necessary. The need for swift, unflinching decisions begins to weigh on Captain Kane, though he soldiers on for the sake of the few still standing. In their darkest hour, a faint glimmer of hope emerges. While scanning for functional equipment in the crash site, the survivors pick up a strange, distorted signal. At first, it's assumed to be static, but it isn't random. Someone or something is broadcasting from deeper into the Martian terrain. Deciding to chase the signal means leaving their shelter and plunging into uncharted territory. It's a gamble, but survival demands risk. Captain Kane leads his group into the unknown. Miles of harsh crimson wasteland stretch before them, each step shadowed by the knowledge that the parasites could emerge at any moment. The signal leads them to a haunting structure buried beneath the harsh sands. Evidence of an ancient Martian civilization is etched into its walls, hinting at a species that once thrived and was eradicated. Inside, the survivors discover relics and long-dormant alien technology. Most chilling of all, they uncover the truth. The parasites aren't just hunters. They're an apex predator that wiped out an entire species before humanity's arrival. These creatures were here long before us, waiting to infect again. The Martians had fought and lost against the very plague now consuming the survivors. Armed with remnants of the alien technology, Kane formulates a desperate final plan. Lure the parasites into the underground facility and destroy their nest in one all-or-nothing gamble. The survivors bait the creatures, screaming into the night to draw them close. The parasites swarm faster, fiercer, and deadlier than anyone had anticipated. Tensions explode as the plan begins to falter. A survivor panics, leading to their grisly demise and their subsequent reanimation mid-battle. Kane fights to keep his remaining team together long enough to detonate the facility. The relentless onslaught of parasite-controlled corpses tests their limits. Each survivor who falls must be sacrificed to ensure others survive. In a final deafening blast, the alien facility collapses into itself, the fireball taking the parasite colony with it. Victory, however, comes at a shocking price. Only a handful of survivors emerge from the destruction, battered and broken. Captain Kane is left holding on to his leadership by a thread, the weight of guilt heavy on her shoulders. The Martian night grows silent again, and for the first time all seems still. But as they huddle together awaiting any hope of rescue, the faint, distorted signal they chased earlier begins once more. Unmistakable and chilling. Perhaps the parasites weren't fully eradicated after all. Mars watches silently as the survivors stare across its endless red horizon, wondering if they're truly safe, or if the nightmare is just beginning. Fade to black. Well, boils and ghouls, we've come to the end of yet another terrifying tale. If you've liked what you've seen, please feel free to drop us a like, a comment, or maybe even a subscription. They may seem like little things to you, but they mean a lot to us here at the dungeon. Thanks and unpleasant dreams until we meet again.